Since February 2022, Ukraine has been fighting for its survival. This country, facing one of the greatest challenges in its history, continues to resist against a much larger and more powerful adversary. But the question arises, how much longer can it endure? Today, we will explore the factors that influence Ukraine's strength in this conflict and what it means for the future. First, let's examine the military situation. Ukraine relies on Western support in the form of weapons, training, and intelligence. While Ukrainian forces have shown exceptional bravery and tactical skill, the exhaustion of resources is becoming a serious issue. The key questions are, is Western military aid sufficient to sustain the offensives, and how long can Ukraine continue to withstand constant attacks? The Russian military continues to assault Ukraine in the Donbas region, where it has significantly improved its performance for the type of warfare being waged there. In 2023, the Russian army was on the offensive, managing to capture, on average, one village per week. Today, they are capturing several villages on a daily basis. In August 2024, Ukraine launched an attack on the Kursk region and the territory of the Russian Federation. This marked the first time since World War II that a foreign army entered Russian territory, a significant blow to Russia's prestige. It also demonstrated that Ukraine still has fresh forces capable of conducting complex operations. However, there are few strategic objectives that could truly threaten Russia. A territorial conflict with Russia aimed at seizing land is less feasible, given Russia's vast size. Instead, Ukraine should focus more on disrupting the functioning of the Russian Federation by targeting critical infrastructure, such as the bridge connecting Crimea to Russia. Significant damage could also be inflicted by destroying bridges over major Russian rivers. Striking military targets and industrial capacities could also be effective in causing damage to Russia. Over time, making life more difficult for people within Russia could lower public morale, potentially leading to calls for an end to the war. The next factor is the economy. Ukraine is facing severe economic challenges, destroyed infrastructure, millions of displaced people, and a decline in GDP. Despite financial aid from the West, the scale of the war is leading to a serious crisis. How might long-term economic stagnation affect Ukraine's ability to continue the war? Many industrial centers, such as Mariupol and Severodonetsk, have suffered massive destruction. Railways, bridges, roads, and energy infrastructure have been targeted by Russian attacks, further straining Ukraine's economy. Rebuilding the infrastructure could take years, with costs estimated to be in the tens of billions of dollars. Ukraine has experienced high inflation, with the prices of basic goods rising significantly. At times in 2022, inflation reached as high as 30%. The Ukrainian currency has devalued during the war, which has further reduced citizens' purchasing power and complicated business operations for companies dependent on imports. Ukraine, which before the war was one of the world's largest grain exporters, has suffered significant losses in agricultural production. The war has led to a reduction in arable land and exports, particularly due to the blockade of Black Sea ports. Although some export agreements have been reached, the agricultural industry remains under immense pressure. Over 5 million Ukrainians have left the country, while several million more have been internally displaced. This has significantly reduced the availability of labor and further destabilized the job market. Many workers, especially men, have joined the military, further depleting the workforce in civilian sectors. Ukraine has received substantial international financial assistance, primarily from the EU, the US, and international financial institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. This assistance includes direct subsidies, loans, and donations that have been crucial in maintaining budget balance and paying salaries and pensions. Public debt has increased due to additional borrowing, which poses a long-term challenge for Ukraine's economy. In the short term, Ukraine's economy remains under significant pressure. Recovery and stabilization will depend on the end of the war, foreign aid, and the reforms that will be necessary for long-term recovery. In the long term, Ukraine's economy could stabilize and grow, but this will require substantial investments in reconstruction, infrastructure modernization, and improvements in the business environment. The morale of the nation is another key factor. Ukrainians have shown extraordinary resilience and patriotism, but as the war drags on, the pressure on the civilian population grows. How will psychological and social factors affect Ukraine's will to continue its resistance? Ukraine is a complex state because it is home to ethnic Russians, but there are also people who speak Russian and feel Ukrainian. Additionally, in the western part of the country, there are people who speak a slightly different language and are completely against Russia. The most significant factor for Ukrainian morale is the support of the West, because as long as they have it, they will not easily allow the front lines to collapse and the state to fall apart. We cannot ignore the geopolitical dimension. How does the international community, particularly the West and Russia, influence the dynamics of the conflict? Will Western support continue at the same level, or will it face war fatigue? And how could a shift in the global political climate impact the outcome? Is an agreement between Russia and the West possible? Yes, theoretically it is possible, but for that, it is necessary for the West to accept that the world is multipolar, which they stubbornly refuse to do. Perhaps Donald Trump is more willing to make a deal compared to Kamala Harris, but reaching an agreement will still be difficult. The policies of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris represent two factions of the same policy. Trump openly spoke about withdrawing U.S. troops from Afghanistan, and the withdrawal was carried out by Joe Biden. Trump announced a deal with North Korea, but nothing came of it, and the policy of isolating North Korea continued. In both cases, it is NATO policy, where Trump only insists that other countries have a greater economic share in financing the military. One should not expect a significant change in foreign policy if Trump returns to the helm of the U.S. It is possible that the new establishment will initiate negotiations, but there is no basis for reaching a sustainable agreement. For many in the West, prolonging the war is a desirable outcome of the current events. In the long run, it weakens Russia, but at the cost of sacrificing Ukraine. Therefore, one should not expect a path to peace, as there are many who benefit from the war. Ukraine faces many challenges, but continues to resist. The future is uncertain, but one thing is certain: Ukraine's resilience depends on a combination of military, economic, social, and geopolitical factors. Will this nation manage to retain its freedom? Only time will tell. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis on global events. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.